Insert host.
Insert host. That's a good one.
Discontinued whiskey and at a phenomenal price. Watch the video to find out just how cheap I got this bottle for. Alright guys, welcome to Brolic Whiskey. I am Metahuman Dave.
I'm Mike.
Mike. So, this is the channel for simple whiskey reviews for the average guy. You don't need to be a sommelier level expert to get our tasting notes. I'm super excited about this. Mike doesn't know what's in store for him just yet, but Mike, Discontinued Japanese Whiskey. I know you've been wanting to try Japanese whiskey.
Yes.
This is a Discontinued Hakushu 12, and I'll let you guys know later how much I paid for it, but way below regular asking price. This bottle normally goes for about $100, but it was recently announced by Suntory that they're discontinuing the Hakushu 12 along with the Hibiki 17. So, unfortunately, how people are in the secondary market, you know, people are going to be buying them up. A lot of unscrupulous shop owners are going to be jacking up their prices too. I'm lucky enough to be able to have found this, and man, when I tell you the price. So, I know you're a little bit of a nerd like me, and you like to know all those little geeky details about lots of different things.
Give me some history.
This is a Suntory product. You know Suntory because you brought over the Toki to my house that day. So Toki is one of the 4 main product lines. Alright, but their other product lines are the Hakushu line,
okay,
Yamazaki,
okay,
and Hibiki. So, what makes our channel a little bit different than from what I've seen out there is you're going to see us review whiskeys 3 different ways. First way is neat, just as is. Then we'll give a score from 1 to 10 on what we think about the whiskey. Then we're going to open it up a little bit with just some distilled water, see if it opens up any of the tasting notes or if it dilutes them. And we'll give a tasting score based off of the second taste. And then the third way, since some people like their whiskey on the rocks, we do have a rocks glass. We're going to see what happens when you cool down the whiskey.
Let's give it a swing.
As far as the geekiness of the history, it's actually kind of cool with the Hakushu Distillery. They're in the middle of like a forest. Beautiful forest area that's at a high elevation. It's in the Japanese Alps. It's actually one of the highest elevation distilleries in the world.
Gotcha.
So they claim on their website that it's straight from untouched forest with soft, crisp waters and mountains of Japanese Alps. So it's actually rain and snow melted water that's been filtered through granite.
Okay.
That is thousands of years old.
Sounds good.
It's a Jim Beam Suntory product, which Jim Beam has some of the American companies you know as Jim Beam, obviously. Knob Creek, Basil Hayden's, Bowmore, and you know me, I love Lafroig. It's actually part of the lineup. So they're the 3rd largest premium spirit in the world, and they're the 1st in the U.S. So they're number 1 in the U.S. Are you ready to nose your glass?
Oh yeah.
Wow. This does not smell like that.
No.
Toki.
No. This smells significantly sweeter. Much sweeter.
Definitely get some fruity notes on the nose. So while he noses and he's going to try to decipher in his head what he's picking up, if this is your first time seeing this type of glass, this is called a Glencairn. This is the unofficial official whiskey glass of the world. That tulip shape helps the nose, the fumes funnel so that you can pick up.
Yeah, it's definitely sweeter than other things we've tried. I don't get a lot of that hard alcohol burn, that bite. Actually, for the record, I should tell you guys, I'm not a drinker. I'm not a drinker at all. So, I'm representing the average Joes that are not drinkers, that are less than social or casual drinkers.
Learning the craft of whiskey, if you will.
Absolutely, rookie, amateur. This does not scare me with alcohol burn. You know, some things have a strong bite. You know, like that tequila burn, but this doesn't have.
Yeah.
It. This is really pleasant.
I definitely get, like you mentioned, it's the sweetiness of almost like honey, but it's like a, I wouldn't say melon fruit, but maybe like it is like a soft fruit.
Yeah, it's very berry to me.
Berry, that too.
Yeah, it's very
And
sweet.
yeah, no alcohol on the palate, on the nose at least. But did you try it yet?
No, not yet.
Obviously, this is our first video, so help us grow. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell button so you get the notifications. And Mike, what do you get on the palate?
I'm getting a lot of good.
A lot of good.
I'm getting a lot of good.
That's the Hakushu.
That is solid. That's easy to drink. It's smooth. It's clean.
Right?
It
No
tastes
burn.
really clean.
So not only do you not get the burn on the nose, but at least me, I didn't get any burn on the tongue.
I get a little bit on the tongue. But again, I'm pretty raw at this.
Now, taste is obviously subjective. Him and I, you'll see when as we do more videos, we might not agree on a lot of different whiskeys. That's why you want to find someone that you have a similar palate profile to, so that if they recommend something and you know that you've been following them for a while and you have a similar palate, if they recommend it, it's probably something you should try. If they don't like it, you probably would want to avoid having to buy an expensive bottle. So that's one thing I always tell people. Find someone who has a similar profile as you. Taste is subjective, and we can often influence people by saying a certain thing. So Mike, I'm going to try to influence you with a little bit now that I didn't bring it up the first time. One of the reasons why personally I was so excited of always wanting to try the Hakushu 12, as you know, Laphroaig is one of my favorite whiskeys.
Yes.
It's the peatiness, that smokiness that I really like. This, from what I understand, is got a very similar smoky profile, which is what I've always heard about. So that's why I wanted to try this one. Now that I told you that there's smoke, try it again. Let me know if you still get the burn, or if you now decipher it as not a burn but smoke.
Still has a little tingle on the front.
Okay.
On the front end, I get a little tingle. It gets a little, almost like a numbness to your tongue. I get a bit of the sweet. On the back end, I will get some smoke.
Yes.
Very light. Definitely not as strong as Laphroaig.
Oh no, we're not even
not
trying to compare the two. No.
No, it's very light on the back end. It's good.
Really good whiskey.
It's clean. It's
It's
smooth.
got some nice sweetness that hits you right off the bat, and it's just like a nice little. It's a hint. It's a hint of smoke. This might be a good introductory type of whiskey for someone who's never had an Isla style of whiskey. You know, not even in the same ballpark, but an intro, like a little training wheels, if you will, towards getting into the smokier whiskeys.
We'll move on to water ice.
First, give me your score, 1 through 10.
Oh goodness. Being that this is one of probably the first, maybe 4 whiskeys I've ever tried. Well, the premium whiskeys at least. I'm gonna throw it around 8. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10.
That is a fair score.
Well, I'm just gonna say, just because it's so clean tasting, just because it doesn't have a hard bite in the beginning, it's very friendly to us beginners. I'm gonna start with an 8.
Mike, that's a very similar score that I was going to give.
Okay.
I was going back and forth between an 8 and an 8.5. That's why you saw me take that quick little sip again. It's such an enjoyable whiskey.
Yeah, it is.
It's hard for me to throw 8 or 8.5, so we're going to call it 8.25.
8.25.
It's a really, really good whiskey. Second way that we're going to try this, we're going to just put a couple of drops of water in. I normally have a glass straw for this. I did leave it at my house. I forgot, so we're going a little ghetto style, little plastic straw action. It's hard for me to gauge how much water I have in here. That's only 1 drop. 2, 3. So 3 little drops of water from Mike. Pretty good. Stir it around a little bit.
This does have a nice body.
Let the chemical reactions occur. Did you try it yet?
Not yet.
On the nose, it dulled a lot of the sweetness for me.
It did. It did.
I'm almost getting like a hay or a grass type of smell.
Yeah, it's tamed. Just for those 3 drops, it's tamed.
That's what's amazing. It doesn't take a lot. It's not like we put a half a cup in there. It's just a couple of drops. It changes things quite a bit.
You know what? Yeah, it's it still smells clean. You know, I wanna.
Taste is completely different. Have you tried it yet?
Not yet. Just trying to get that smell down.
He had a little bit more whiskey in his glass than I did. So 3 drops for me versus 3 drops for him might be slightly different, but at least for how much whiskey I had in here, it kind of became like a hay or a grass smell. On the palate, I lost the sweetness. I don't get any of the sweetness.
Sweetness is gone.
Not as strong of a smoke, but I felt like the smoke lasted longer.
It did. I got the smoke in the beginning, on the front of the drink. And it stayed through the whole thing. I did not get much sweetness at all.
It's just a very slight smoke, not much sweetness.
No.
For me, it did not do anything good to this whiskey. It's a big disadvantage for me.
I'm okay with it because it's still smooth. It's still clean. If you enjoy smoke, you'll get it through the whole drink, through the whole sip. It starts in the beginning and it'll last through the end.
Yes.
Once again, no big alcohol bite, no burn, a little bit of tingling on the tongue. I'm still going to say quite enjoyable.
Okay. What's your score?
I'm still going to stick with an 8.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think it made it better or worse.
Okay. It just made it different for you.
Yes, it did change the experience. It
okay.
did.
Here's where we differ quite a bit because I felt it was a disservice to this fantastic whiskey. It dropped it a lot for me. I would give this like a 5.
Even though you prefer smoky.
Because I got smoke with no other flavor notes. Like,
Gotcha.
to me, it just was like, and it wasn't strong enough smoke for comparing it to an Isla.
Understood.
It was a mellow smoke that lasted longer than when we had it neat. But I didn't get any of the sweetness that we got from the neat. And
So it simplified
drink some
the flavor for you.
too much.
Okay, gotcha.
Correct.
Okay.
Now we try the
Should I
whiskey.
just pour this in here?
Go for it.
I don't want to waste. This is good stuff.
I don't want to do more on there just in case you don't like it.
That's fine.
All right. So, it is very often especially in the Japanese culture, they don't tend to drink their whiskeys neat. They tend to drink it either on ice or in a highball, club soda or
each their own.
seltzer. Another nerdy thing you might want to know about, I forgot to mention, was Takayuki Suzuki.
Okay.
Mr. Iceman. He actually makes from a square block of ice these he'll make a perfect sphere just by hand. He has these cool little tools, makes a cool little perfect sphere, and that's how they typically will serve their Hakushu.
All right.
Okay, on the nose, I'm still getting some sweet.
Tame down. See, that changed for me. Now I feel like it's Melanie.
Melon.
Yeah.
Got it. It's like, Melanie? Who's Melanie?
Oh no.
Not digging it?
Not at all. Let me tell you why.
Go for it.
That ice just took everything away from this. It's now tamed.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing that resembles whiskey to me.
That is the unfortunate thing about cooling down and icing a whiskey, is that it dulls the palate, dulls the flavors.
This does nothing. There's absolutely zero bite.
Yeah.
I don't get any smoke.
Right?
Nothing on the front and the back.
It's like you're just drinking, but you don't get much flavor of any kind.
Here's how bad it's going to be for me. I feel like I'm drinking dirty water.
Oof.
That's how bad
So
it
what's
is.
your score? If we just cut right to the chase.
This is. I'm going to give it a 1
Whoa!
Just because it still tastes clean.
Wow.
Just
All right.
There's nothing here for me. This is not an adult beverage anymore.
Yeah, it
I'm done.
definitely it stinks on ice.
Yeah.
Not my thing. I wouldn't go as bad as a 1 because for me 1 means it's undrinkable. I'm gonna give it a 3 just because it's like drinking nothing.
It is.
1 to me means I wouldn't even finish the drink. So I'll give it a 3. I would never want this served to me on ice. I would prefer it neat all day long. It is a phenomenal whiskey. So, price. I scored this for $58. If he had more bottles, they would have been with me for sure. It was the only bottle he had. $58. Are you kidding me?
42% off on whiskey is fantastic.
A discontinued whiskey.
Yeah.
43% alcohol, so it's not even at the
great.
lowest. You might be asking, if this is such a great tasting whiskey, why is it discontinued? And Mike, that is a great question.
That was my thoughts.
So, basically, I won't get into the nitty-gritty details.
Let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
It's a quick synopsis. Basically, what happened is, in the 80s and 90s, whiskey wasn't very popular. It was all about clear spirits. Your vodkas, your gins. So, when they were making 12-year-old, 17-year-old, 21-year-old whiskeys, much smaller capacity than what we're experiencing today. Right now, we're experiencing basically like a whiskey boom. This is, right now, probably the best time to get into whiskey because you have so many little mom and pop type of distilleries, artisanal distilleries. Even the big names are finally doing things that are considered not authentic, right? They're doing new things. They're experimenting. And I love that about whiskey because now we're starting to see some of the whiskeys that would have been frowned upon. A lot of the no age statement type of whiskeys that people would be like, oh, I only drink aged whiskeys. Well, if you only drink aged whiskeys, you're missing out on a whole plethora of really good blends. Compass Box is a perfect example of someone who's making phenomenal blends that are non-age statements. But as far as the Hakushu goes, they did try to ramp up production, but they couldn't anticipate the future. They didn't realize how much bigger they really needed to make their production line. At least for the time being. It doesn't mean that it's never coming back. They basically are just saying, you know what, we can't keep up with demand. We need to let these whiskeys age. So we're just going to stop bottling the 12 age, putting it on the shelves. What I interpret it as, within the next few years, because who knows, maybe just because it's discontinued now, maybe it's already in the aging process. But within the next 10 years, we're going to see this come back out. That's my opinion. But that doesn't mean if Hakushu decides to come out with something that's non-age statement that you should just ignore it and not go with it. Here's a good example. Hibiki, same company as the Hakushu. When they discontinued the Hibiki 12, at the same time is about when they introduced Hibiki Harmony. Not the exact same whiskey, but you don't hear too many people complaining about Harmony.
One eternity later.
So, the price point, you're still getting a great whiskey. Now, for the Hibiki 17, that was also discontinued. From what I'm hearing, in September, we're going to be getting what they're calling the Blender's Choice, which basically probably means that it's a non-age statement version of the Hibiki 17. I won't bore you with the details of what an aged whiskey means today. I'll save that for another whiskey, but all I'm saying is don't ignore when Hakushi or Hibiki comes up with non-age statement versions of their whiskeys. Pick it up. It's probably just as good, or at least pretty damn close to it. The Hakushu 12 will be coming back out, in my opinion, within the next 10 years. They saw that they needed more demand, so they upped their production line. Just as of right now, for the demand of the super boom we're experiencing, they're just like, you know what, we gotta put the brakes on it. So it's unfortunate, we're not gonna see this great whiskey for a little while. Whatever's on the store shelves, scoop up if it's at a fair price. Don't let the store owners tell you it's worth $300. I'm not buying a $300 bottle of Hakushu 12. Sorry. If you find it at a fair price, generally speaking, before this announcement was made, you typically found this, at least here in California, for about 90 to 100 bucks.
Keep it under 3 digits.
Whiskey prices are very varied, not only within the state, but within the country, so it's hard for me to tell you what price you should buy it at, but don't let someone price gouge you. That's basically the bottom line. This is a phenomenal whiskey. If you can get it at the fair market price, pick it up. You're not going to be disappointed at all. That's it. Now, I will admit, I'm more of a Scotch drinker. I have a lot of Scotch whiskey in my collection. This is only the second Japanese whiskey I've had. So I want to hear from you. What is your favorite affordable Japanese whiskey? Something that you think Mike and I should try next? Leave that down in the comments section below. We'll make sure that we pick up a bottle, review it for you guys, and let you know what we think of it. This being the end of our first video, we just want to leave you with this. Even though it's our first video, we are quite possibly the best whiskey channel in all of Bonsall, California.
Definitely on this patio deck.
At least on this patio deck.
Definitely on this patio deck.